Welcome to the second episode, where I share what my second week at the farm was like, how I started to truly feel part of the team, and some stories that made everything more fun and memorable. This week, I learned more about the dairy processes, everything related to milk handling, and the production of yogurt, kefir, buttermilk, and butter. And of course, for all of this to be possible, it's essential to thoroughly clean bottles, jars, lids, as well as all the small part of the machines and the tools we use. It's a job that requires patience, care, and attention to detail. But the feeling of doing something manual and seeing an immediate, tangible result is incredible. Also, having Aliana, Eric, and Janet guiding me made everything flow so much better. I really feel like we make a great team. This week, I kept meeting many people, as more than 20 volunteers work on the farm every day. Today, I'll tell you about three of them. Marco is the coordinator of cheese caring, meaning he ensures that all the cheeses are properly stored and maintained. He loves Spain and dreams of traveling around the country in the future. He especially loves Valencia and Las Fallas so much that he brought a bit of Valencian culture to the Netherlands by creating an association with people who share the same passion, organizing mascletas and paellas. Richard is the one I did my first delivery with, restocking the shops that the farm has across four nearby villages. He is a very polite and interesting man. He has always played team sports, especially tennis, and for the past 4 years he's been playing golf. At first he didn't like it, but the more he played, the more he enjoyed it. And Eric, he volunteers a couple of days a week while also working at the farm. Until recently, he combined all this with helping at a vineyard. He is energetic, attentive, and very funny. He loves joking around and it's quite adventurous. At the end of May, he's flying to the UK to take part in a crazy race where people roll down a hill chasing a wheel of cheese. What have I done this week? I learned the process of washing milk bottles. Every day, depending on the amount of milk collected, production is planned. How much go to whole milk, skimmed milk, kefir, buttermilk, yogurt, butter, fresh cream. So, how does the process work? First, you fill the sink with water and detergent. Scrub the neck with a sponge and clean the inside with brushes. Then you place them upside down on trays and wash them in a special machine on intensive mode. They come out so hot that sometimes the labels come off, so if one is missing, it's best to replace it right away to avoid interruptions during bottling. It's recommended to wash 6 to 12 more bottles than needed, just in case some aren't perfectly clean or have damaged glass. I have to say, it's a repetitive and almost ritual-like process, and without even realize it, I enter a state of flow. I find myself simply being present, doing my best no matter the task, because it's not about what you do, but how well you do it, giving your full potential. Earlier, I introduced you to Richard, the person who taught me how to do deliveries. So, what does the job involve? We deliver products to the farms for self-service shops in nearby villages. We start at 8:30 by loading the truck with everything its shops needs. I have to say, I was really surprised by these shops. They are 100% autonomous. Customers can shop 24/7 by registering in the farm's app. You enter the weight of each product and build your cart item by item. It's a concept based entirely on trust and honesty. During deliveries, we also bring back expired products, vegetables that are no longer presentable, and these packages that have lost their vacuum seal. We collect glass bottles and lids to wash and reuse, take inventory, bread, eggs, milk, yogurt, butter, fresh cream, and record fridge and freezer temperatures. I have to admit, I haven't dared to drive yet. The roads here are extremely narrow, and you have to avoid cyclists and pedestrians. But I've become quite an expert at handling the truck ramp. And trust me, it's trickier than it looks. I really enjoyed the experience. I loved the landscape, doing a bit of tourism while working, and remembering how peaceful it feels to be the co-driver. By around 12:30 or 1 o'clock, we are back at the farm. But the work doesn't stop there. Everything has to be sorted and organized so that everything is perfectly in place. The third task I learned this week is housekeeping. Each week, one of the four of us is responsible for keeping the house clean and organized. This includes emptying the compost, taking out the trash, cleaning the bathroom and entrance, vacuuming, and checking the fridge and pantry. This week it was my turn and I gave everything a proper reset, especially the fridge and pantry, organizing things that tend to accumulate on surfaces, and even folding and arranging the kitchen cloth perfectly neat. For a few days, I noticed a lot of Brussels sprouts in the hallway. But why are there vegetables in the hall? Because the vegetables that are no longer suitable for selling but still good to eat are the ones we use for our meals. Of course, we do a second check to decide if something goes to the cows or to compost. One night I cooked these Brussels sprouts, and my main learning was realizing how much effort it takes. I spent over an hour peeling 168 of them, but everyone loved them, and that's what matters. Any effort has its reward. And now, something you wouldn't expect, especially those of you who know me well. One afternoon, we were cleaning two sheep heads to prepare them for dinner. Yes, actual sheep heads. Nargis and Hassan had been wanting to cook a traditional dish, sheephead broth. We spent almost 2 hours saving and cleaning them. It was intense. And of course, one of the highlights is eating the delicacies inside: brain, eyes, cheeks, and tongue. I tried the brain. It tasted similar to chicken liver, and the tongue. The texture reminded me of foie, and I actually like both. The broth itself is stronger than what I'm used to, but very flavorful with chickpeas, potatoes, carrots, and onion. So good. Rico, rico. But if I had to highlight something from that afternoon, it would be the time spent together. They even went live on TikTok for more than 3 hours, showing the whole process. At one point, more than 400 people were watching. Actually, Alex jumped into the live and they gave him such a warm welcome. They were asking him when he's coming over so they can meet him, and I even popped in for a second myself. They are honestly the nicest people. And now a little confession. My body is not the same as it was at 30, and I can feel it. This week I started warming up before work. Early in the morning, you immediately start lifting and twisting your body, and I began to feel discomfort in my hip and left glute. So I created a simple routine: 5 minutes in the morning to warm up and 5 minutes at night to stretch. And now I can handle everything they throw at me. To finish, I want to share my thoughts and feelings after this second week. I started to feel truly integrated. Even though many tasks were new, repeating some of them gave me confidence. I felt more comfortable cooking and cleaning, and I really enjoyed both my solo walks and conversations with people all of ages. But more than anything, I confirmed something I already felt deep inside. This experience is much more than working on a farm. It's an inner journey. There are beautiful moments and also uncomfortable ones. I realized that throughout my life, instead of facing certain people or situations, I tended to avoid them. Here, I can't do that. So I'm learning day by day to manage my emotions, to stand my ground, and to express openly and respectfully when something doesn't feel right. I am still on the path, but I'm doing really well. It's incredible how I'm reconnecting with myself, learning to respect and love myself more. And that's how my second week comes to an end. Thank you, family, my husband, friends, and listeners, for staying until the end. If you would like me to talk about something specific or explain any process in more detail, leave it in the comments and I'll include it in future episodes. And if you like to keep joining me on this adventure, I'll see you in the next episode. See you soon.